Today I'm going to show you how to make a dog collar using the dog collar tapers that I have available on our website. You can order these tapers in any combination of sizes and hole spacings that you want. You can designate the collar width to buckle width, and then you can also designate how many holes you want and how big a spacing you want between the holes. Here's a sample of the 1/2 inch to 1 inch taper. This is the buckle end. And then here are 3 different strap ends with different combination of holes and spacings. These all have 5 holes. This has 1/2 inch, this has 3/4 inch, this has 1 inch spacing between the holes. You can also get them with 4 holes instead of 5. For this particular collar that I'm going to make, I'm going to use the 1.5 down to 1 inch buckle, and I'm going to use 5 holes with 3/4 inch spacing on it. So that's what we're going to use. Now the first thing we're going to do is we need to measure the dog collar that we're going to make it from, or get the measurements from our customer of how big of a dog collar. I'm making this for Remy, and this is her collar that she wears, and this is where it's set at currently. So when I measure, and this is a particular buckle that just snaps in, so to get the measurement, I would measure from this point here to the end of here. That's the collar length when it's buckled. So in her particular case, this measures 17.5 inches from here to there. So that's the size that I wanted to make it, and I'm going to set it so that when it's buckled in the center hole, it's 17.5 inches. That gives me 3/4. It gives me 1.5 inches up and 1.5 inches down. And that collar on her is comfortable. It's not really super tight. It's not super loose, but it does give me room to tighten it up if I want to. If I'm going to keep it from sliding off her head, because this one just, the way it is, it's enough that she could if she wanted to slide it off, but it's comfortable for just every day. But if she's on a leash or something where you really don't want them to slide off, then I want to leave room to tighten it up. So the first thing we need is the strap cutter. These are available from Tandy. They're super handy. It's what I use to cut all my straps. So I've already cut the leather that I'm going to use. In this particular collar, I'm going to make it kind of more of a decorative collar. So I'm using a latigo for the backing, and then I'm going to put an embossed hide on the top. So I have taken and already split my strap down. This is longer than what I need, but I split it down to the thickness that I want. So right now my strap is right at about 8 ounces. And then I did skive down the buckle end a little bit, and I've got that skived down to about 6. And then I'm going to overlay with a 2 to 3 ounce embossed hide. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out how long of a piece we need. So as I said, we want 17.5 inches finished. If you notice on the template, on this particular, the buckle end of the template, there is a note on it that says the buckle fold to the end is 4 inches. So from the center of the slot to here is 4 inches. And then on my hole end, which I'm using the 5 holes, 3/4 inch spacing, from this end to the first hole is 2 inches. I want to do it to the middle hole, and I know each of these are 3/4, so this is 2 inches. This would be another 1.5 inches, so this would be 3.5 inches. So I have 3.5 inches on this end. I have 4 inches on this end, so that's 7.5. Now I'm going to use a roller buckle, and I know this is going to take up about another 1/2 inch of space. So I want to allow for that. So if I've got 17.5 finished, I've got 4 inches that I need to take off on this, and I've got 3.5 inches to account for on here. That's 7.5 inches. Take off of my 17.5 inches means I need to add in 10 inches in between. But now I'm also gonna have an extra 1/2 inch, so I need to account for that. So I'm gonna take that off. So what I need to do is I need to add in 9.5 inches in between here and here. So for example, let's just lay this out on my strap. I'm gonna put the buckle end all the way to the end of my leather, and then I'm going to put my other end on, and I'm gonna put I'm gonna add 9.5 inches in between. So that's gonna be about there. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to test to make sure that from the center of here, the center of my slot where my buckle will fold, to my center hole is 17 inches. When I add this buckle on and it's tightened up, it's gonna give me the extra 1/2 inch that I need. So from the edge of the buckle to my center hole is 17.5 inches. So I know that's correct. So for this collar and this buckle, I'm gonna add in 9.5 inches in between. So I've got that written down on a piece of paper. What I've done is, like I said, I skived down this end where my buckle is gonna fold just to have a little bit, so it's not quite as bulky. And I'm gonna go ahead and glue on my overlay on my strap first. And then I'm gonna cut it out. So we're just gonna add our glue. This is the glue from Sorrel Notions. This is the 315. I like it because it doesn't smell. It's super easy to clean up. Very strong once it dries. The nice thing about these tapers is you can use them for a lot of other things too. Like if you're just wanting to do a belt style headstall where you just need a taper down to a, from a 1 width down to a buckle width, you can use them for that. Okay, so we got glue on that side. I don't know if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. So I just went, when I got this glue, I just went and got like a little ketchup bottle. And that's what I use for, to squirt it out. And then make sure that if you do order, that you order these silicone brushes. And then once you're done and this dries, your glue will just peel right off of this brush. I used to use the barge, but it's very, very strong. And I was like I hated nasty, when my glue pot got nasty, so. Like I see some of them and it's like, I just want to pick off all the glue. Okay, so we've got our glue on both of our pieces. And I'm gonna let that dry a little bit and then I'll be right back. Okay, so our glue is dried. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna put this on top of my liner. Now, if I was using a hide that did not have a linear pattern like this, then I would have just glued my liner on top of my top without really worrying about it. But because this pattern is so, I want to keep it nice and even, and because it's linear, that I want it parallel, so I wanted to make sure I cut my leather first, and then I just lined it up with the edges of my strap. So I got a little glue on the top. All right. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, like I said, we need 9.5 inches in between. So I'm gonna lay my buckle end and get it centered. And I wanna cut out this end of it. I don't wanna cut here, obviously. I need to get my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. I'm just using a really sharp box knife and I'm just going right along this edge. I find it's easier to not try to cut through with one cut. I do more multiple shallower cuts. You do have to be careful because if your blade is sharp, you can nick the template. Okay. Yep, let's cut my end. All right, so there's that end. And then I need my 9.5 inches in between. And then I'm going to line this up at the 9.5. And I'm just going to cut off the end. Okay. You don't have to be, want to try to keep your edges as clean as possible, but we are going to go back and sand it and clean it up. Make sure when you're cutting that you kind of hold your template good, because sometimes they do want to slide a little bit. Now another option, if you were going to do it from the back side, is you can just trace around this and then come back with a knife and cut it. So there is what we have cut out. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sew around it, and then we're going to sand it and edge it and put our hardware on. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to take it on the machine and sew, and I'll be back when that's finished. Okay, so we've got it sewn. So I went ahead and sewed all the way around, and then I also went back and I sanded my edges. Now what I'm going to do is take my edger and take off this edge. So I have a Berry King #2 common edger that I like to use. And like I said earlier, this is a Latigo, so it's gonna, edges really easily. So I'm gonna run this over here, knock off this edge. Now if I was doing a collar that was stamped or tooled or anything, then obviously I would, and if it had veg tan on the top, then obviously I would edge that top leather also, and then I would burnish it. But this, since the way we're kind of cheating a little bit and we're doing a pretty quick, easy collar, kind of just more of a decorative collar, we're not gonna, we can't edge that top and burnish it. So what we're gonna do is just use some edge coat on the edges. But I do have, like I said, they're nice and sanded and they're nice and rounded. So now I'm gonna just take, I've got some edge coat that I got from Weaver, and I'm gonna apply it. I use this little foam Q-tip thingy that I got from Tandy. So and we're just gonna go around and paint And just make sure that you get it nice on the bevel too, where you took that edge off. The nice thing I like about this stuff is if you do get it up on top, you can just, it wipes off. I know some people go back and then after they do this, they'll sand it again and paint it again. And I guess it really depends on what your finished product is. If you're doing a nice purse and you want really, really nice edges on your straps, then you would want to probably do a couple coats. But this is going on a dog. It's going on my dog. And I don't need multiple coats on the edges. But I just think it looks better than just having a raw edge. Okay, so there's the one side done. And you can see how I got a little bit, let's see if you can see, kind of a little bit right here on my leather. And all I need to do, grab a rag. Just go ahead and rub that off. And that clean up that top edge a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video and I'm gonna do the other side and I'll be right back and we'll get the hardware put on. Okay, so now we're ready to put our holes in and attach our hardware and then we'll be done. So I'm gonna use my templates again and I'm gonna line them up so that I can mark my 5 holes. I just got like a little wax marking pencil that I use to mark those. And then I'm gonna do the same thing down here. I'm gonna mark my slot. And then also the holes for my rivets. And I've got I'm gonna use a roller buckle and my D-ring. Now, you could use your hole punch to punch your holes. I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna use my foot press because I find it a lot easier. So we'll move over there. Okay, so I've got my Heritage foot press set up and I've got it set up to punch holes. I've already went ahead and punched my slot and I use my arbor press and then I just buy the little slot dies from the die company that they use to insert into clicker dies. I just buy those and I use my arbor press to punch my holes because I find it much easier than trying to buy or trying to use the ones with on the mallet. Okay, so I'm just going to line up my holes. And there's those are done. And now we're gonna put in the hardware. And I'm gonna switch this out. And I'm gonna put in my tubular rivet, my splash rivets. And I'm gonna use some stainless steel tubular rivets. That's what we're gonna use to attach the hardware. So first I need to do is I need to put on my D-ring, and then I'm gonna get my buckle on. You just gotta make sure you put it on the right way. Okay. If I can see where my holes are at, my marks. So I got my tubular rivet in there. And on this particular one, I don't even need to pre-punch my holes. Just line it up, make sure that everything is, my straps are nice and lined. And there's my rivet. And then I'm gonna put one on the other side of my D-ring. Get that so it's centered. Make sure everything's lined up good. And there you go. And now I'm gonna do is just go back and just hammer these down a little bit. Okay, so our collar is finished. We're all done. I tested it, it fits. It is just a little snug, and probably what I would do differently the next time is I probably wouldn't account for the ½ inch on that buckle. Just to give me a little bit more play, I did not account for the thickness of the leather being much different than this. So next time, if your leather is super thick, I would probably not recommend you allowing for the buckle. So anyway, everything is fits pretty decent for her. I will go ahead and put the link in the description as far as where to get the tapers if you're interested in buying them. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.